Now, the first seaborne aid for Gaza since the October 7th massacres has arrived. 200 desperately needed tons of food shipped from Cyprus were unloaded this evening. If that offered a tiny grain of hope, there was another from Israel. It is sending a delegation to Qatar for ceasefire talks. But until there is one, the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, made clear that plans to launch an all-out assault on the city of Rafah will go ahead.
Within sight, but still agonizingly out of reach, a ship towing 200 tons of aid visible on the horizon off Gaza this afternoon. Much less clear as they watched its approach amid distant explosions just how and when its life-saving cargo can come ashore. A makeshift jetty is taking shape, but Gaza needs hundreds of trucks laden with food every day. There is a yawning gap between supply and the vast need for help. The UN warns many thousands face starvation. Asma Mustafa is a teacher whose full-time job now is to find food for hungry mouths.
People don't find anything to cook. They sometimes even collect grass and make it as a meal on the fire. There is no electricity, no food. Diseases are spread everywhere.
Israel's government today approved a military assault on Rafah, the last city in Gaza outside its army's reach. But first, it promises to move more than 1 million Palestinians to what it calls safe areas. More questions of how and when hang unanswered here. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Netanyahu rejected as absurd Hamas's latest proposals, themselves a retreat from demanding a permanent ceasefire to suggesting a temporary truce and a swap of Palestinian prisoners for Israeli hostages. But with an eye on international pressure and domestic protests on behalf of hostage families, talks will continue, significantly with Israel returning to the table.
I believe that this is a crucial stage. First, bring home the hostages, make us reunite with our families. Then we have a long process to make sure that Hamas is gone.
Back in Gaza, aid fell from the skies. After 5 months of siege and war, gravity remains the most reliable and yet entirely inadequate method of delivering food. On this first Friday of Ramadan, worshippers answered the call to prayer. The greatest blessing would be peace. John Ray, News at 10.